that point in time, my eldest nephew was about 5, and his younger brother was 3, and Melody was pregnant with their 3rd. And James and I were playing cards, and the 2 boys got into a scuffle. And James broke it up, and in that process admonished Eric Benjamin, my oldest nephew, who started to bawl, started to cry. And James stood up, and he looked at him, and he said, "Do you want me to give you something to cry about?" And I started laughing because our father had been dead about 10 years, and there, my older brother is manifesting my father, Robert Benjamin, right there in my face. And I start laughing, and he looks at me with one of those looks that will kill, and then he hurt himself, and then he starts laughing, and we laugh, and Eric is looking at us as to why his father and his uncle have gone crazy. But that manifestation of my father to his son, that's Jesus. Jesus is a parable spoken by God the Father so that we can see him manifest in the world, so that we can learn of the Father's love for us, so that we can learn of the Father's mercy and his patience. Not my Father's patience, but God our Father's patience. His justice tempered with love and mercy. And Jesus is that parable spoken into the world. And it's a world that's not quite ready to receive the truth. So he speaks in parables to those who hear him. But to the disciples, they know he is the Son of God. You go back and read the very first line of the Gospel of Mark, and it says, "This is the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God." So it's right there in black and white at the beginning who Jesus is. But he speaks in parables because we're not quite ready to understand the man that is God and the God that is fully man. That takes a while. And so that truth that Jesus is the Son of God is like that little mustard seed that gets scattered and planted. And it got planted in my heart, and I didn't quite know it. And as I pray, "Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And slowly through my prayers and praying the Our Father, slowly but surely, like that first parable, that seed began to sprout. And I ended up with a little bit of faith. I ended up with a little bit of trust in God the Father and Jesus as the Son. I ended up with a little bit of assurance that the cross gives us redemption and salvation and eternal life. But that seed has to grow through prayer and practice before it becomes ripe. And how do we kind of know when our faith is ripe? Well, Paul tells us that we walk with faith and not by sight. When we have a goal, a promotion, a car, a project, we can see that goal and we can make steps towards that goal. And we can walk what we can see, what we can taste. But faith is about walking with the goal of eternal life, the goal of being in communion with God the Father. The goal is about eternity. And so when we're walking with that faith, then we're not looking with great intensity on the things that are closer in this life. We have our head focused and pointed toward what will get us to heaven, what will keep us in relationship with God, what will help us become holier. And like the mustard tree, we're not called to be taken from the top of the cedar. That's Jesus, who is taken and planted to give us the church. He's the big cedar that is taken in the prophecy from the first reading. But that second story of the mustard seed, that is who we are called to be. We're not called to be a big cedar. We're not called to be the tree of life. We're called to give that word that Jesus is God to others. And so when our faith is right, we will be that bush and then plants in others that truth that Jesus is the Son of God. And we will begin to give shade to those around us. We begin to do the works of mercy, the offering alms, the feeding the poor, the comforting the sick. Those things that the mustard seed does because it offers shade. So when you think about where you are in your faith walk, think about how much time you spend on little things that you can see as opposed to what you're walking toward in faith. And think about whether or not you're casting a shadow that comforts others and that you have planted little seeds of the truth that Jesus is God in other people's lives.